All right. I think I've got enough evidence at this point to determine that gold is looks to me more like it's moving down into a daily cycle low at this point than a half cycle low. Um, the decline has just lasted really longer than I would anticipate for a minor half cycle low. Um, that being said, it's been pretty mild so far. Of course, we knew that the cartel was going to block gold from getting above 1800 the first time. That's exactly what happened. Uh, and almost every day we'll see an attack to try and take gold down, but usually by the end of the day, the buyers will have come in and pushed gold at least off of the lows of the day. And so this daily cycle low is unfolding more as a very mild sideways grind. And in the advancing phase of an intermediate cycle, as I've noted before, that uh, the next rally usually starts pretty quickly after RSI gets oversold, and most of the time a daily cycle low will push the 5-day RSI at least down or pretty close to oversold. And you can see we're getting pretty close here. We may get fully oversold, maybe Monday or Tuesday of next week. And then that's the point at which I would start looking for maybe a final bottom and the start of the next um, daily cycle rally, the advancing phase of the next daily cycle. And I think that phase is going to break through um, the interventions to try and keep gold below 1800. I think the banking cartel is not going to be able to hold that manipulation. I think the next daily cycle is going to break through that. I'm seeing a lot of analysts again still pretty negative on the metals, and I'm not that bearish. I think this is a pretty decent bullish setup. Um, and there's a couple of things I'm going to show you next that lead me to believe that we've got further to go. And as I said in my previous video, um, gold right now is struggling to maintain upward momentum, and I think um, the real momentum is going to come a little bit later this summer, maybe in June or July. I think that's when we'll get some really big upwards momentum. But in the meantime, um, there's nothing here to convince me that the intermediate rally in metals is over yet. Now, let me move on and show you a couple of things that I'm looking at and that have convinced me that is what is happening. All right, so this is the chart of Franco-Nevada. It's the leading gold stock coming out of that bottom in March. You can see when when gold retested its lows. I noted in my previous video that the mining stocks GDX, the ETF, didn't quite fully test the March low. Well, Franco-Nevada wasn't even close to testing it. Um, Big volume at this bottom, and I just don't think that we would have the leading gold stock producing this kind of powerful rally if the intermediate cycle in gold was going to be another failed and left translated cycle that was going to roll over and make lower lows below the March low. I don't think there would be any gold chart that would look this bullish if that was the case. And then a couple other things. I watched the leveraged funds, mostly for metals, but the heavy volume in the ERX, the double leveraged energy ETF, was a clue that we were starting a long-term bull market in energy as well. But this is the inverse of the junior gold miner, so it's a bear fund and it's leveraged 2 to 1. Um, Usually, when you're getting a top in metals and miners, um, and you obviously you get a bottom in the inverse fund, and there's usually some kind of subtle clue, and that will often be um, an above average to really heavy up day in the inverse fund. You can kind of see it as we took off here on this move. We had a large volume day. Um, Again, some moderately large volume day before this move began, and I'm not seeing that here in the junior inverse leveraged fund right here, which makes me think that this is not a final top in the mining stocks. This is just a corrective move down into a daily cycle low. And then the same thing is happening here with Dust, which is the majors. It's the inverse fund of the majors. Again, no heavy volume here that would indicate to me that that we're getting a major bottom in the inverse funds, which would of course correlate with a major intermediate top in the like GDX. So the assumption at this point is that this is a counter trend move, and that this counter trend move isn't going to last too much longer before it rolls over and comes down and makes a lower low, which would of course be a higher high in GDX in the mining shares. All right, so this is GDX, and again, I've noted this multiple times. In the advancing phase of an intermediate cycle, price tends to stay overbought. It will embed in the overbought condition, and then when you do get a corrective move, it usually doesn't stay oversold very long before the next rally starts. So, we're marginally oversold here. It's conceivable that we could get maybe Friday was the bottom, or maybe we get a bottom Monday or Tuesday, and then this turns back up pretty quickly. So either way, like I said, I don't think this is an intermediate top here. I think this is just a daily cycle top. We're moving down into a daily cycle low. We're at this point we're not even remotely close to making a lower low, and that would be the indication that the advancing phase of the intermediate cycle is over, and you're now in the declining phases when price starts to make lower lows and lower highs. There's nothing here that even remotely suggests that is happening at this point. So I'm pretty convinced, this is just a minor daily cycle correction. The cartel's probably beating on this a little, extra hard. Like I said, they want to keep gold below 1800. So probably, gone down a little bit further than it would naturally, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think this is going to bottom pretty quickly, and then we're going to make, higher highs, probably by the second or third week of May. I would expect we're going to be back above this and maybe even testing these resistance levels up here. And again, I suspect that the real momentum in the metal sector is probably going to come in June or July. So right now we're just in this stepping up process, and I think we're pretty close to a final daily cycle low, and then the next leg up is going to begin shortly.